And a breezy summer night in Melbourne, Australia. Tremendous anticipation in the air and around these courts. Whether you've chosen sides, or whether you're just happily neutral, the anticipation, you can feel it. Not since Agassi and Sampras collided in the final down here in 1995 has a match been so looked forward to. Federer and Nadal for the first time in a major hard court final. I'm Chris Fowler, and welcome to Super Sunday in the tennis world. Perfect punctuation of this first major of 2009. Whether you're staying up late or getting up real early or recording this, we hope you're as excited as we are. Certainly for Federer, a chance to see history tonight. The 14th major title, equaling Pete Sampras's men's milestone far faster than Sampras could have ever imagined. We beat Agassi at the U.S. Open 6 years ago. For Nadal, a chance to get 3/4 of the way to the career slam and conquer new territory, his first big title on a hard court. Can this encounter tonight possibly equal their last collision? I mean, can anything? We can hope.
Ladies and gentlemen, the men's singles championship. Would you please welcome from Switzerland, Roger Federer. His opponent from Spain, Rafael Nadal.
Two players tremendously popular. Regardless of where you stand at home in this rivalry, it's so difficult to root against either one. Both great ambassadors for this sport, and you could hear Federer is very popular, wildly popular down here, but the crowd gave Nadal a big cheer saying, come on, God, what do you have on those legs?
Well, I disagree with Brad. I think the 2 days, almost 2 days to recover, he's one of the fittest, probably the fittest guy on the tour. I think he's going to be ready. I think he's going to be going big. I remember Nadal a couple of years ago telling me that when he plays Federer, he does everything that much harder. And he said, if I stay with Federer, I beat him. So that's the key. If he stays with Federer in the beginning, I think mentally he has the edge.
But the journey here was so difficult. It was an unlikely potential spoiler. Fernando Verdasco, the surprise semifinalist, the fellow Spanish lefty that pushed Nadal to the limit, physically and mentally. They played 5 hours and 14 minutes. Never been a longer match at the Australian Open. Brilliant shot making. Finished at 1:10 in the morning.
Yeah, and Nadal probably wouldn't have gone to sleep till 6 o'clock in the morning, so his rhythm would have been off. But just like Mary Jo said, if anybody can recover, it's Nadal.
2.13 miles, sprinted, explosive movement, back and forth, changing direction. Roger rolled over Andy Roddick, and you realize in the last week he's played 2 matches. He's played a total of 3 hours and 27 minutes in the 2 matches, and he's had 70 hours to rest since beating Andy. So it has to play a part. They've each dropped just 2 sets en route to this final, but the paths have been very different. Again, as is his custom, Rafa will keep everybody wait as he has a sip of the drink, rotates those water bottles just the right way, a little energy here.
He does the same routine day after day. He's very meticulous, a lot of rituals.
Brad, how soon, in your opinion, in this match will we know whether he's 100%?
I think in the first 7 minutes will set the tone. And obviously, both of these guys, when they win the first set, are incredible front runners. But if Roger senses that Rafa's movement's off, he might be able to stretch him, and that's all he needs is a little bit of an edge to get at Rafa.
Champions love to have the best brought out in them by a great rival, but honestly, each guy says they'd rather have an easy match. They've seen enough of each other in these finals.
Same condition, best of 5 sets, no tie-break final set, 6 balls, 7 and 9, net device, 3+1 OK per set. Any questions? Heads or tails? Heads. Receive? Okay, can you please take some picture? Thank you very much.
Pascal Maria, same man in the chair as for the Wimbledon final. That's a good omen. And Nadal sprinting back to the baseline for the warm-up, as is his custom.
You know what's so interesting, and Roger has mentioned this in the past, is Rafa always receives and Roger always serves. So he says the towing cost is really a bit of a waste because it's automatic that Roger's going to serve first no matter what.
Roof open, pleasant conditions, a little bit breezy. Ready to rumble, Brad? You ready for this thing?
We've only had one 5-setter here in 1988. I want to see a 5-setter tonight. Hopefully, you know, it can be another Wimbledon.
Each time they share the same space, a chance for something very special. Can't wait to get inside. Let's go inside now to Dick Enberg and Patrick McEnroe.
All right, thank you, Chris. And, of course, Rod Laver Arena, named after the great Aussie, the best player of his generation, arguably the greatest player of all time. And now we see the top two players in this generation, each pushing, motivating, challenging the other to be better, just as Rosewall did to Laver. And we had Borg and McEnroe and Becker and Edberg. And on the women's side, Chris and Martina. And you can go on. And tonight it's these two men who has the best stuff, Rafael Nadal or Roger Federer.
Well, they've been waiting a long time for this kind of match here in Australia, and you can tell it's palpable here in the arena how pumped up this crowd is. But, you know, when you get to the X's and O's of this, Dick, so much, I think, will be that first strike from both players. And for Roger Federer, it's setting things up with the serve. He's served exceptionally well this entire tournament, 64% on the first serve percentage, and this is what he's got to do against Nadal. The wide serves will be absolutely key, because as we've seen with Rafa, he likes to stand way behind the baseline. This was against Roddick in that semifinal demolition for Roger Federer. So that's going to be absolutely key. And then you've got the other side of Nadal. Look how far back he is in the semifinal against Verdasco. That allowed Verdasco to get a lot of cheap points. But for Rafa, especially, Dick, by the fact that he's come in with this tough match, he's got to serve well. And he has served well, especially on the hard courts. We saw him do it at Wimbledon. But it's going to be key for Rafa to get some cheap points on his serve, get some energy going so that he can hang with Federer in the baseline points.
Well, one thing is quite certain, both men, when you consider their record in 3 or 5 sets, if they have won the first set, rarely do they ever lose the match, and that's held true in the last couple of encounters.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly I think, as Mary Jo said, if Rafa believes he can stay close, he likes his chances. But remember, a lot of this is about the matchup, and for Roger Federer, he loves to play that little short slice backhand shot against pretty much anyone in the world, and it works, and it's all part of his game. This was against Del Potro here. See that short slice, and then he can set up so many things. If his opponent comes in, he can pass him, he can play the drop shot. But here's the X factor. When he plays against Nadal, even at Wimbledon, by the way, this was the first point of the match. The heavy ball to the Federer backhand, and then that one, that was last year's Wimbledon final. The first point of the match. That's what Nadal can do to Roger Federer and sort of take him out of his A game. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how Federer deals with that, and if he comes out with a different sort of game plan, because as great as he's been in his career, he's never really had to do that, and Nadal forces him to do that.
Brad Gilbert and Darren Cahill from the Coach's Eye will examine these two great finalists as the finals coming your way from Australia. And, of course, their last meeting, gentlemen, was in that 5 excruciating sets at Wimbledon, and the umpire that day was the man in the chair tonight, Pascal Maria. Maria himself part of this whole drama that continues from the All England Club here to Rod Laver Arena. And during that classic match at Wimbledon, he said during the rain delays he would go off by himself. He would not watch any of the television coverage. He would not answer his cell phone. He wanted to focus on doing a great job.
He had to focus as much as these guys did, and what a buzz there is here in the arena. And that's a real interesting stat from Darren about the break point chances for Federer, and that's something to me that's hurt him in the past, is his approach on the return of serve as well, Dick, is that Federer hasn't looked to be offensive enough against Nadal. He's sort of content just getting the ball back in play, and as I said earlier, he's able to do that against everybody else he's ever played against, but he's not able to do it against Nadal, and sometimes it takes him a long time to figure it out over the course of a match. So I'd like to see, from the Federer perspective, him start the match actually being aggressive on the return. We'll see.
How about Rafa Nadal? When we're at the French Open or at Wimbledon, we talked about that big top spin forehand to the backhand side of Federer.
Well, he was able to use that even on grass, and I think he will try to use it here. But if the other thing we've seen from Nadal during this tournament is the ability to step inside the court and flatten the forehand out and go for winners as well.
Federer in pursuit of history, a 14th major title. Rafael Nadal seeking to win a Grand Slam event on 3 different surfaces, and Federer serves to open the final.